Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us here on GoLocal Live in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm joined with Stephanie O'Donnell. Thanks so much for joining us here today.
Thanks for having me.
This is exciting. Stephanie is a registered dietitian nutritionist, and she's the owner of Nurturing Nutrition. Stephanie is also an autoimmune paleo certified coach and a certified lifestyle eating performance therapist. So, Stephanie, thanks for joining us. Today we're going to talk about Thanksgiving nutrition and enjoying Thanksgiving in a healthy way.
Yes.
So this is cool, and I'm excited about this because a lot of times Thanksgiving and the holidays, people focus around food, but that's not necessarily what the holidays are about, right?
Yes. So we focus a lot on food, and I have a couple of tips to kind of make eating healthier, but I also have some strategies for focusing on other things so that we don't get so stressed out about the eating portion of the day.
Exactly. And I think, and what you do is so great because you're going to help us get through the holidays in a healthy way. And also you say it's like we don't necessarily have to punish ourselves if maybe we do overdo it a little bit, right?
Right, exactly.
Okay, so Stephanie has 5 tips for us to make a Thanksgiving healthy and enjoyable holiday. So the first tip you have for us is making your plate half fruits and half vegetables, which I think is awesome.
Yes, so fruits and vegetables are something that we need to be refueling our bodies with every day, multiple times per day. So we really need them with every meal and snack we have in order to fuel our bodies appropriately. Thanksgiving and other holidays also are no exception to that rule. So they really are where we get all of our nutrition for our normal daily bodily functions from. And so I've got a couple of fun ways to kind of make that a little bit more exciting rather than just saying eat your fruits and vegetables.
Rather than just like eat spinach and carrots all day.
We've heard that. Like we've heard that before. It's not helpful.
Okay, so especially, if you have kids, so if you're having, the kids table or, if your whole family's getting together, what are some ways that we can maybe try to incorporate more vegetables and more fruits for the holidays?
So the first way I think to do it is to make it fun and exciting. And so especially for kids, they want to be involved in things, and we can make it more exciting. So Thanksgiving in particular is an easy one because you can make a turkey with fruits and vegetables. And so just a quick Google search will give you multiple pictures of this, but you can do kind of sliced up vegetables and fan them out and make a turkey that way. You can skewer fruits and then have that be kind of sticking up like the feathers of the turkey. There's lots of different fun ways to do that. And the second way that I have to kind of make it a little bit more exciting is to have a challenge. And so who doesn't like a good challenge?
I love this. I'm already thinking this. I have to do this.
So the challenge is to eat every different color of the rainbow throughout the day. So it can be with, appetizers and your meal and with dessert. But by eating the different colors, you get different nutrients. So each different color gives you a different vitamin or mineral. And so starting with your reds, right? I know a lot of people are going to say cranberry sauce. I have cranberry sauce, and that's red. So first I want to make sure that your cranberry sauce actually has cranberries in it.
And no tri-colored tortilla chips too, right?
Exactly.
So this is like a good natural food
Has
challenge.
to come from the fruit or vegetable, the color. And so another way, though, to kind of think of the red color would be with beets. So maybe some roasted beets as your side or beets as a salad topping. And moving on to the orange color, I know a lot of times people have butternut squash and pumpkin is the other one. So I want people to really think outside of the box here and not just think pie. So that's where we automatically go, right? Thanksgiving is like, I'm going to have pumpkin pie, I'm covered. But you could do pumpkin soup, you can do a pumpkin quiche, you could do lots of different things. You could do those same things with butternut squash. So kind of thinking outside the box a little bit and maybe making a savory dish out of those foods rather than just relying on your dessert to get the orange color in. And so then we get into yellows and whites. And so this I think is really good for your turkey, your vegetable turkey. So if you had sliced up yellow squash, like summer squash, or yellow peppers, that's a great place to get them there. For anyone in my family, it's turnip. We do things because tradition, and so turnip is one of those dishes that we traditionally have at our Thanksgiving dinner, and so that's what everyone's white or yellow will be in my family. And then moving on to greens, I mean, you could do a simple salad, you could do sauteed greens. One of my favorites is roasted asparagus.
Oh, it's so good.
So
love asparagus.
Yummy, and also kind of a different, it's a great fall food, but it's not something we typically think of for Thanksgiving. Also, Brussels sprouts are a good one there. So I'm actually mixing my red and my green this year, and I'm doing roasted Brussels sprouts and beets together.
Oh, I like that. That gives it a good taste. And what I think is important too, we were just actually having this conversation that, you don't have to make everything so super traditional for Thanksgiving, right?
Exactly.
If you don't necessarily like something or you don't want something, you don't have to have it, right?
Exactly.
If you and your family doesn't like stuffing, don't feel like you have to have it, right?
Exactly. So
you want asparagus, have asparagus, right?
It doesn't have to be those traditional foods, not at all. And so this is where, actually speaking of non-traditional, blue and purple, we don't have a lot of blue and purple foods, and so you can either work berries into your turkey, but also they have purple sweet potatoes and purple carrots, and a lot of people don't know about those.
Yeah, so good.
They're fairly easy to find in Rhode Island anyway. They're fairly easy to find, so you can mix it up that way as well.
Just grabbing something that I automatically think of blueberries, but if I could find, some purple carrots or blue carrots, why not?
Yeah.
And change it up. Okay, so hopefully that helped you add a few more ideas on incorporating fruits and vegetables and making half your plates that, and maybe having half the plate or a little bit less of something else. So the next strategy we have to enjoy a healthy Thanksgiving is to eat slowly. And everyone says this, and it's easy to say, but not necessarily easy to do, right?
Correct. So we talk about this a lot as well, but it really does help. And so eating slowly, we're so excited for Thanksgiving. It comes around once a year. For a lot of people, it's their favorite holiday. It has some really yummy foods, and so everyone's excited to eat, and we just sort of dig right in and chow down. But then there's two things that happen. And so one is we tend to eat more than our bodies actually need if we're eating quickly. But the second thing, and I think this is an even bigger shame, is that we're not actually enjoying the food that we've worked so hard to prepare, or somebody worked so hard to prepare, and that we've been waiting all year for. So I think it's really important to slow down for those reasons too, to really actually savor, the texture and the flavor and, the different aromas, even the smells at Thanksgiving. And so it can help to chew your food really well, to pause between bites, and to work in a lot of that socialization. And so that will bring us probably to our next tip.
Okay, yeah, eating slow, taking your time. And our third tip is to let the holiday be about having fun and socializing, not just about the food. Mm-hmm. And I think, like you said, that can help you eat slowly, because if you're having fun, you're not just shoveling food in your face.
Exactly. So having it be more about the conversation and spending time with your friends and family, that can be a key piece, is to really kind of help us slow down. But I also think a lot of people kind of miss out on the feeling of Thanksgiving, right? We're being grateful for things. And so one of the best ways to actually be grateful for what you have and to really truly sit down and enjoy your meal is to volunteer your time serving others their meal. And so that is another way that people can kind of slow down and pause and really kind of take a step back and be able to enjoy their meal a little bit more and a little bit more slowly.
I definitely agree with that. The next one you said is to wait 15 minutes before getting seconds. I think that is an excellent thing. So you might even have to set a timer, right?
Exactly.
Excellent strategy.
So it takes 15 to 20 minutes for your brain to actually get the message that you're no longer hungry. So eating slowly helps with this, socializing helps with this. You can build in other activities as well. So in your 15 to 20 minutes, there are plenty of games that you can play as a family that will take up that time. So if you do set your timer and then you're just kind of sitting there looking at the timer, it's not going to be helpful.
Staring at the food, ooh, what next?
Exactly. So doing something with that time. So make decorations. We're coming right into full swing holiday season. So making decorations, playing games, doing something with everyone else can be a great way to kind of use that time.
I think it's crucial too, because Thanksgiving, a lot of times you eat and eat and eat, and you might not necessarily be mindful of what you're eating or how fast you're eating, yes, or what you're consuming, and so many things can add up that then you don't always feel well. So if you hold back, if you're eating slow, mm-hmm, you're enjoying yourself, you're having time, and then you wait, and then you have time to process and think like, oh, do I really want that? Or maybe, you know, if you cooked all day and then you were out playing with the kids and then you're playing games, then maybe you're actually hungry for a second round.
Exactly. And if you are truly hungry, it's absolutely fine to go back and get more. What I usually tell people is the second time around, try to take a half portion, because usually we're not hungry for a whole another portion of foods. But pick your favorite foods. So speaking of enjoying the holiday, you know, serve yourself and really get something that you want to be eating, and eat it because you're enjoying it and you're actually hungry for it. And so taking that half portion of whatever your favorite food is, so that roasted asparagus, have a second portion of that roasted asparagus, have another slice of turkey with it, and really enjoy the holiday that way.
Okay, I like that idea. Okay, our fifth tip is to choose an activity that keeps you moving. I think this is excellent.
So this is another way that will actually it'll help us make healthier choices. So a lot of times on Thanksgiving, it's all about the food again, and we work in that socialization, so we get together, we talk a lot, we eat a lot, and then we kind of sit on the couch, sometimes watching football, you know, sometimes just sitting there chatting, but we tend not to be moving around a lot. It's getting colder outside, so we need a little bit more motivation to get out and do that. But there are some great ways to do it, and it doesn't have to be organized. So when I say, you know, do something that keeps your body moving, it doesn't have to be exercise per se. It can be going for a family walk. You know, it can be having a dance party, so it doesn't even have to be outside. But you can have a dance party. There's lots of ideas for relay races on Thanksgiving. So you can do a scavenger hunt. There's lots of ways to kind of be doing something fun and interesting, but also up and moving your body. And when you are up and moving your body, it makes us think about the food that we're putting into our body. So it does help us actually make healthier choices. And I know there are a lot of people who are interested in doing those organized activities, and they're all over the state this year. There are turkey trots, there are pie runs, so you can look for those, but I know there's some happening. There's the pie run, I think, is in Middletown, and then we have turkey trots in Cumberland and Pawtucket and Warwick, and there's another 5K in Cranston, so there's lots of things to do if you like that organized activity. And even just getting out and going to a football game and sort of walking around and moving can be another way to just keep your body moving so that you can stay healthy and feel healthy during the holidays.
Yeah, it's always nice. There's just something to be said for getting up and taking a walk in the morning, whether you're going to consume a little bit more than you normally do, or whether you're just going to have a regular meal or something, just to be said to get up and to get moving. And even to help you digest or something, you know, if you have a big meal, helping you digest just to get up and take a walk, like going out and walking your dog, or going out in your backyard and playing around, or like you mentioned before, like going out and playing in the leaves with your kids or something like that. You know, it doesn't have to necessarily be structured, but helps you digest, and this helps you feel a little bit better too, you know? If you eat something a little bit heavier than you normally do over the holidays, you know, just doing a little something can help you feel a little bit better, whether it's before or after the meal. So I like that. You have a couple bonus tips for parents, and I think these are so beneficial because you know, do as I say, not as I do, right? But that's not necessarily the case, especially when it comes to nutrition. So your bonus tips, one is just to be a role model.
Mm-hmm. So I think it's important for parents to keep this stuff in mind. I work with a lot of families in my practice, and I constantly have parents coming in saying, I really want my child to eat broccoli or, you know, whatever that healthy food is. And when the question comes back around, are you eating that food?
Well,
they often say no. And so if you're not eating the food, or if you're not practicing these tips, so if you're not making your plate half fruits and vegetables, how can you ever expect your child to do that? So I think it is exactly do as I do, not as I say, because they're watching you and they're watching the choices that you make, and kids are much more likely to make those healthy choices if their parents are.
Okay, so, and why not try to incorporate a healthy family lifestyle?
Right.
You know, make it fun, make it enjoyable, make things taste good, and get the kids involved is the next step that you have.
Yep, and so kids are much more likely to be a part of something and actually consume it if they were a part of making it. So if they, it's not gardening season anymore, but if they can help in food prep by washing something or helping to put something together. So if you are making your fruit and vegetable turkey, if they can kind of help decide where those fruits and vegetables go, what order they're in, if they can kind of help lay them out, they're much more likely to actually eat the vegetables or the fruits than if you just make it yourself and present it to them and say, here, have some. So they're much more likely to do it if they're a part of making it.
I was going to say, well, they'll, getting them involved in some way, shape, or form. I'm thinking, have them make cookies. I'm like, well, that's not healthy. Something as easy as hummus,
right,
so you can
exactly.
do, that's something super simple.
Yes, exactly.
So don't have to use a food processor, but
right.
put the ingredients in, something like that.
And you can find, so do something age appropriate. So for the younger kids, maybe it's the washing, and then the older kids get to chop, and so you can choose something that's appropriate for them.
Yeah, I like that idea. I think definitely when you're part of something, like, ooh, I made this, I want to try it and see what it tastes like, I think you're more inclined to do that. So I think that's neat. So before we send you off, Stephanie, we do want to talk a little bit about this, and this is something that you're actively involved in and what you do in your practice and at your business. For people who have food sensitivity and food allergies, the holidays can be a little bit tough, can be kind of a stressful time sometimes for people who have those, and then for people who are hosting those who have food sensitivities and food allergies. So I want to talk about some strategies for them and just trying to make things a little bit easier. I do think things are getting a little bit better. There are a lot more products. There's a lot more information out there, whether you are a vegan or whether you have celiac or whether you don't do dairy. I mean, there's so many just different things out there. So I do think that knowledge is a big part of it. But we wanted to talk a little bit about what you do and some strategies that you have for people that might have, whether it's a sensitivity or an allergy when dealing with the holidays.
So yes, that is what I specialize in, and I also suffer from food sensitivities myself, and I have family members who have food allergies. So one thing that I want to talk about, because I know sometimes people don't know the difference between a food allergy and a food sensitivity. So a food allergy is something that might result in anaphylaxis or death. So it's something where if the person consumes that food, they could have an anaphylactic reaction and potentially end up in the hospital, or could result in death. A food sensitivity isn't something that can result in death, but it can make people very sick. So this can be any symptom ranging from headaches to GI upset, to skin rashes, muscle pain, joint pain, extreme fatigue. It can be really any range of symptoms, and for some people it's less severe, and for some people it's very severe. So they might have just one bite of food and have radiating pain. So it can be pretty serious. And so there's a lot of different restrictions, like you were saying. So some folks follow a vegan diet by choice, or some people don't tolerate animal protein actually, and some people can't have gluten, whether they have celiac or they're just gluten sensitive. So it's impossible to follow everyone's dietary restrictions for a large event. It's just not possible. So my tips really for folks who have the food allergy or the food sensitivity is to just be asking a couple of questions. There are some things to be curious about. So knowing where you're going and knowing the host, are there other people there who also have food sensitivities or food allergies? Are they the same or are they different? That kind of gives you an idea of whether or not things can be tailored to your needs or not. And also you'll know if you're comfortable enough speaking to the host to say, can you make something that I can have, or should I bring something on my own? So sort of just asking those questions and feeling things out. There's a couple of simple substitutions that can be made, and so these are important to think about. Can you have the host leave something plain and separate for you before mixing it all together? So carrots are a good example of this. So I've done this myself before, where my in-laws have left a dish of carrots plain and then buttered the rest and served those to everyone else, and then I just have my separate dish. So that's fairly easy for a host or hostess to do, and they're usually happy to be able to accommodate you and not feel so overwhelmed and stressed about what they're doing. So if you can tell them what to do or what you need, that's very helpful. Also, sometimes there's an easy fix where you might be able to do like a sweet potato bar where you have all the toppings on the side rather than doing mashed sweet potatoes and mixing everything into it. So that's another way to kind of keep things a little bit separate. Everyone can have what they want and like, but it doesn't cross-contaminate anything.
I actually really like that idea. I think that's excellent. Because that way people can have their choice.
Right, exactly.
What are your thoughts on, I do this a lot just because of my sensitivities. I think it depends on where you're going to, is packing and bringing your own, right? Whether it's a whole meal or maybe it's just you bring a little something just in case.
Right, exactly. So I tend to do that a lot as well, and my family and friends know at this point that I'm probably going to do that. But I think it depends on how comfortable you are where you're going. So a lot of my clients are afraid of offending someone. And so I think of a one-line phrase that you can say to people to kind of help ease their minds as well. So, you know, a lot of times they're afraid they're going to be offended that they don't want to eat their cooking. And so simply coming up with a line like, oh, you know, I wanted to make this because I know it's really hard, or I don't want to make it more complicated. There's other people there who have special needs, and so I'll take care of my own. You don't have to worry about it. Come up with some sort of line that makes you feel more comfortable. Or if you're comfortable enough, you can just say, hey, I'm bringing my own food. But I'm a big fan of packing food just in case and leaving it in the car. So if you're going somewhere that you're not sure if they're going to have food that you can eat, you don't want to end up hungry and then in a position where you're going to make a poor choice and get sick later. So I know myself well, and this is one of my other tips, is know yourself well. I don't want to miss out on anything, so I will actually prepare an appetizer, a main dish, and a dessert to bring with me. But some of that, depending on where I'm going, might stay in the car, and I'll only take it out if I need it. So know yourself well and be prepared. And so if you can keep a little cooler in the car, that's a great way to cover all your bases. You know you have something if you need it, whether you bring it into the party or you eat it when you leave. It's there and you're not going to be starving, and you'll save yourself from making some poor decisions.
I love that strategy of just packing yourself the whole thing. 5-course meal. Leave it in the car if you need to. But I think that those are all really excellent strategies. Well, Stephanie O'Donnell with Nurturing Nutrition, we'll put a link on her website, but 5 main tips to get you set for a healthy Thanksgiving holiday, and then some bonus tips as well. So thank you so much for joining us here today. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to talking with you in the future. Everyone, please hang tight as we get set up here for our next guest on GoLocal Live.